good on Maine.
Pretty bad.
All over. Can you tell what kind Florida? Alabama? So really all over. New Jersey? Ohio? Almost every region. Pennsylvania? Oklahoma? Washington State? I think that is legitimately every region of the United States, right? That's amazing. And are you all, so you're all on the same bus tour? And where did the bus tour originate from?
Yes, they do. Summer is more the holiday season. And let me ask you this while I'm on the Australian kick. Do you guys get snow down there ever? Just in certain small sections? Okay, glad we got that out of the way. So everybody, welcome to Portland, Maine on this beautiful September day. How many of you are off the cruise ship today? Show of hands. About half. Half cruise ship, half non-cruise ship. How's the cruise going? Are they feeding you at all? Nothing? It's terrible, isn't it? I know. Listen, before we get started, I feel it's only fair that you should know this. I don't want anybody to get nervous. But right now, you are in the largest city in the entire state of Maine. This is it, baby. This is where all the action is. Portland, Maine. See, there's some guys that won't stop talking in the back of the trolley. Hey, shut up back there, guys. Shut up. 66,666 people. That is the official population of this city. And I know some people don't like all those sixes in a row. But don't worry about it. It's just a number. It doesn't mean a thing. Look at it this way. If I run down one pedestrian, it all changes. Right? And in that I grew up in Boston and learned to drive there, it's entirely possible, by the way. Casco Bay Lines. Travel page for about 20 years. Anyhow, it's the whole world of travel and tourism. But there's an entire chapter on the cruise ship industry. And some of it is not very complimentary, by the way. However, what I found fascinating was this. They listed the top 5 money-making ventures for the cruise ships. And what do you suppose they are? What do you think they make the most profit from? Alcohol is number 2. Day trips is number 3. Casino is number 4. You're not going to believe it.
Jewelry.
Close. You're close, man. It's the sale of artwork. The sale of artwork makes them a ton of money. But listen, in the book there were some horror stories of people, I guess they just got caught up in the moment, like spent $8,000 on some print, you know, and then they get home and they find out that it isn't worth what they paid for it. And then they try to do something about it, only to find out that the sale was made by a third party and it was made in international waters. And there wasn't a damn place for them to go with that issue. So there's a little lesson there. I'm not going to say it, but you know what it is. Don't buy any artwork on the boat. All right, so what should you know as we begin this tour? You should probably know this. We are on a peninsula. We're just on a little tiny strip of land. It's only 3.5 miles long. That's it. And on either end of the peninsula are these really nice neighborhoods. They're called the promenades, Eastern and Western Promenade. And right now we're headed to the Eastern Prom, which is the older part of the city. It's a very old city. It was settled in 1632. A couple of Englishmen. Their names were George Cleves and Richard Tucker. And they came over here to fish. They heard the fishing was crazy good here. And you know who told them about the fishing? It was somebody we all studied about in elementary school. It was Captain John Smith. You remember him, don't you? Had that little Pocahontas thing going there for a while, remember? Smith came here in the 1620s, and he was he drew the first decent map of Casco Bay out here. So he's out there drawing his map, and he counts 365 islands out there. And so he named them the Calendar Islands, one for every day of the year. So that was kind of clever. But the other thing he did that had a much more profound impact on this place, he took his captain's log from that voyage and he published it when he got back to England. And everybody read it. It was widely read. And one of the things he said in his book was this. He said, the fish are so plentiful on the coast of Maine as to get in the way of the motions of my vessel. Meaning, they had to steer around these enormous schools of codfish. That's how many fish, at least that's, either the monuments, memorials. Can you all see that pretty black marble stone over there with the American flag curled around the side of it? That is a memorial to the folks that died on September 11th in New York City. And the reason it's here in Portland, I don't know how many of you might recall this, but several of the terrorists spent the night before September 11th right here in this little town. In fact, they were at the ATM we just drove by 2 minutes ago. They were in and out of the bars all night, and then they went to Boston the next morning and got on those flights, and we all know what happened after that. You know what's even creepier? I don't know why, but to me this is creepier. The librarians at the Portland Public Library remember seeing those guys here 3 months earlier using the public computers at the library. Because you know, nothing ever happens here. How often do you read about Portland, Maine in the world news or the national news? You know, it's kind of a very mellow town, which is why it's a nice place to live, but those guys were here. Maybe they were looking for a quiet little town. I don't know. But you know what? That's all I'm going to say about that, because that's still an open wound, isn't it? All right. Remember your 8th grade history class? The Maine was destroyed while visiting Havana, Cuba. They thought the Spanish were responsible. It started the Spanish-American War. Remember the Maine was the battle cry of our soldiers during that war. And then there's kind of an Alcatraz-y looking structure out there. That's called Fort Gorges, G-O-R-G-E-S. That was built in 1858, and that was manned during the Civil War. And not a damn thing happened there during the Civil War. Absolutely nothing happened there. Great place to be stationed. You know, we were ready for them, they just never showed up. What are you going to do? See this woman on the bench, sitting down with the white hair? Every single day. That's where she is. Every single day. That's her spot. She's not like homeless or anything, that's just her spot. As far as spots go, it's a pretty good spot, don't you think? I'm going to turn left here. As I do, if you look straight out in front of us, there's a big old factory building out there. Not much to look at, really. Smokestack and a big building. But I always point it out because that's where they make B&M baked beans out there. Anybody familiar with B&M baked beans? This might be the wrong, not a single person? All right, we got one. They've been making the beans there since 1867. How about Bush's beans? What are they called?
Crown Vic.
Crown Victorias, yes. Thank you very much. This is called the Portland Observatory. Remember that if you're driving around here on the highway and you're going too fast. If there's a Crown Vic behind you, slow down. Portland Observatory, Merchant's Signal Tower. In fact, think of it in those terms. Pretend it's 1825, okay? Everybody on the trolley owns a merchant ship. Are there any entrepreneurs on board? You'll appreciate this. All your money's tied up in this ship. And they're expensive, you know. You gotta hire a captain and a crew. You gotta keep the vessel in good shape. And then you want to send it off to make some money, so you got to buy stuff, which was probably lumber and fish. That's what everybody exported. And then you send the ship off to the West Indies. And then what do? And you sit here and you wait, and you wait, and you pray, and you wait, and you don't make a penny until that ship comes home. And you can't pick up the two-way radio to check on things, because that hasn't been invented yet. And you don't know what's going on. Did the ship go down in a storm? Did the captain flip out and decide to go visit his boyfriend in P-Town? You don't know what's happening. So you paid the guy that built this tower. His name was Moody, Lemuel Moody. And on a clear day, you can see 40 miles out to sea from the top of this tower. And when he spotted your ship returning, he flew your company flag from the top of the tower. Gave you about 12 hours of advance notice, which was helpful. And you know who designed it? Same guys that did New York City Public Library. You know that pretty building with the lion statues? Yeah, their names were Career and Hastings. And it was a very big deal to get a hotshot New York architect up here to this little town. But let me tell you something, guys. This is wonderful. Inside of our city hall, we have a 2,000-seat auditorium. It's a beautiful... This is the working waterfront of our city. I've never seen a Coast Guard cutter there before. It's the first time I've ever seen that in 20 years. I wonder if they're inspecting some of the containers. Because believe it or not, sometimes what's actually in the container doesn't match what they say is in the container. I know that might be hard for you to believe. See those, if you look towards the cruise ship, everyone, see those gray buildings with all the windows in them? Those are condominiums. They were built